you very much, William. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. A full house, which is great. And also, I think, emphasises how important this issue is for all of us. I want to take just a minute. I know we're starting a little bit late this morning, and as I said to somebody earlier, it rains at least 300 days a year in Belfast, but every day it rains, it helps to create chaos with traffic. So when we'll get used to it, I'll never know. But anyway, wanted to welcome you all, first of all, to this conference. The conference has been organised by NICVA in conjunction with the Advice Services Consortium, and that's Advice NI, the Law Centre and Citizens Advice Bureau. And voluntary and community sector organisations have been leading the way, to date anyway, in providing information and analysis on the possible impacts of welfare reform. And most importantly, I think, advocating on behalf of those people who are going to be affected by it, families, communities, and some of our very, very disadvantaged members of our communities who are likely to be affected. We met last year to assess the possible implications of what was then fledgling proposals, or what were then fledgling proposals. And we raised a series of points of concern that we had, which went towards the basis of a joint campaign that we ran across the sector, that through the Welfare Reform Group, which is overseen by the Law Centre, and other more specific campaigns like the Empty Purse campaign, which was led by the women's sector. We also know from comments in the Assembly made by Minister McCausland that he has been working to try and secure some changes on how the reforms are implemented based on the issues that you, I and many others have raised with him. However, it is frustrating that apart from the new timetable that has been issued in relation to implementation, there is actually very little information on how reforms will progress in Northern Ireland, and very few of this has been made available to date. And I'm sure many of you will have heard Minister McCausland this morning on the radio, and he was being questioned about some of that. And I think, to be fair, there was some indications that there may be some room for manoeuvre within it. But again, it's been very hard to draw out any concrete information about how things are going to impact on us. And I think that creates problems within society, and it certainly is creating problems within communities, because I think people are scared, for want of a better word, in terms of what might be rolling out in front of them. We cannot, for that reason, afford then to take our eye off the ball, as the last thing we need at this point in time is for a bill to be rushed through without proper scrutiny. So as a sector, I think we need to stay informed, and we need to work together, and we need to be prepared. And I think today is an important part of that work that has to be done, and it's an extremely important element of what needs to be done. Many of the proposals that we discussed at the previous conference and that we have been looking at since then have already become a reality in parts of Britain. And I think some of that, the outworkings of that is starting to become evident. I mean, we've heard some reports in terms of how universal credit and its other indications around welfare reform are being implemented and the problems that they're facing. And we're obviously delighted that we have colleagues who are working on anti-poverty issues within Britain who can come along and share their experience with us today. After the tea break, we will be focusing, as I think William has already alluded to a major new report that has been issued on how the proposed reforms will impact on the economy in Northern Ireland. And obviously much more detail will be provided later on in the day around that. The one thing I suppose that struck me when I looked at the initial outworkings of the report was the fact that the Northern Ireland economy at this point the indications are that it's set to lose somewhere around £750 million in terms of lost revenue. Now that's not just that's spending power essentially that is being lost to the economy, and I think it reinforces the importance in terms of our sector of working on the issues that we need to be working on to give focus to what's happening and also to raise awareness. I have to say I was a bit surprised that the 750 million was the figure. I know when we first looked at it over a year ago, the indications then were that it was going to be around 500 million, which, to be perfectly honest, I thought was bad enough. But obviously this has increased significantly. And even if we look at the relatively conservative multiplier factor that the Treasury would put on that, you could be talking of somewhere in the region of 1.2 billion pounds being lost out of the Northern Ireland economy. And that, to my mind, is unbelievably drastic in terms of local business as well. I would say, and I'm just going to finish on this point, the 750 billion is lost spending power. I also am very concerned that that doesn't even take into account the likely unintended consequences of the introductions that are going to happen here. We may lose that in spending power, but we can be rest assured that it will cost us more in terms of the other services that we're going to have to deliver in the meantime. So that's a very concerning point from our point of view. I'm going to finish there and hope that you all enjoy what I hope is going to be a very informative morning. Thank you very much.